Hello everyone, welcome to probably my first video in about half a year, where it's not a particularly clown decade one. We are just going to enjoy a bit of political theatre and get a few of my thoughts on some of the changes into Boris Johnson's cabinet. Yes, I can assure you there is going to be nothing crazy today, wink wink. So in the BBC's coverage, they say Prime Minister Boris Johnson has carried out a reshuffle of his cabinet, removing several key ministers including Gavin Williamson. This is the second major reshuffle since Mr Johnson became leader of the Conservative Party and took over as Prime Minister from Theresa May in July 2019. The last one took place in February 2020. And they say some of the big moves include Liz Truss to Foreign Secretary, the Tories' first woman in that role. Nadhim Zawi moves from leading the vaccine rollout to education at the expense of Gavin Williamson, and Nadine Dorries steps up from Health Minister to Cultural Secretary. So those are some of the big moves, according to the BBC. For some reason, they completely leave out that Dominic Raab has left as Foreign Secretary and is instead now Deputy Prime Minister, which is quite a big move in my opinion. And another really strange thing the BBC have done is that you have the options at the top here to filter depending on different criteria, and for some reason two of them are women and BAME, because apparently enough people at the BBC think enough people care who all the women and who the non-whiteys are in the cabinet. New roles and newcomers and all, they all make sense. For women and BAME, why? But now on to the specific highlights. So we have Priti Patel remaining as Home Secretary, and honestly, I think this is the best move. I can't see anyone being as good as Priti Patel as a Home Secretary, and I don't think she's done well. I think she's doing what she can, fighting against a civil service that essentially wants the globo homo. For example, I know that we are getting officially 20,000 Afghani refugees from Afghanistan now that we've all pulled out of there. I think under Priti Patel, she managed to get that as low as she could. I think under anyone else, the official figure would be way up there in the hundreds of thousands, even within the Conservative Party. So I know she's not doing particularly well as a Home Secretary, but I think she's the best we've got, unfortunately. Next up, we have Liz Truss as Foreign Secretary. Now, Liz Truss, over the past couple of years, has been in the position of Trade Secretary, and she has done an incredible job getting all the trade deals post-Brexit with foreign countries. So moving her to Foreign Secretary seems to be the right move for me. And hopefully she will do as well as Dominic Raab, if not better, by actually answering her phone when there's an international crisis going on while she's on holiday. And everyone's going nuts about the fact that the Conservatives has their first female Foreign Secretary. Woo, who cares? So the next highlight for me is Nadhim Zawi, who was the COVID vaccination rollout minister, did a fair job of it, and is now Education Secretary, taking over from Gavin Williamson. Seems like a bit of a strange change of job to me personally, but also the man is quite a well-known flip-flopper, as quite a few of them are, to be fair. But Nadhim's claim to fame was sending out this tweet, saying, "We have no plans to introduce vaccine passports. We have vaccinated as of yesterday," and this was in January, over 2 million first doses, with 400,000 second doses. No one has been given or will require to have a vaccine passport. Which is all well and good when said in January, but now that we are in September of this year, we get news today of Sajid Javid saying he won't rule out vaccine passports for pubs and nightclubs and other venues. So while it's true that they may not have had plans in January for vaccine passports, it goes against the spirit of the tweet, which is basically saying, don't worry, we will never have vaccine passports. Turned out not to be true. So my penultimate highlight is Dominic Raab, who was Foreign Secretary and seems to do a decent job of it. You'd see a lot of clips of him dunking on Labour MPs, especially really stupid ones, for asking stupid foreign affairs questions. And he also seems to have some based opinions, at least, seems to be one of my preferred MPs, and to see him as Deputy Prime Minister, being in more of a place of general influence over the government, I see that as a plus for people on the right. Of course, I've been disappointed many times before by MPs and the government, so it's easy enough for Dominic Raab to disappoint me too. And now for my final highlight, and this is going to be the main subject of the video because it's so funny. I would like to introduce you all to Nadine Dorries. And boy oh boy, where do we start with the new Culture Secretary? Well, first off, I think it's pointing out that she is, unironically, a complete and total moron. Only an idiot would tweet out proudly the fact that they are completely inept at cybersecurity, which is a sackable offence. So in December 2017, she tweeted, "My staff log onto my computer on my desk with my login every day, including interns on exchange programmes. For the officer on BBC News just now to claim that the computer on Green's desk was accessed and therefore it was Green is utterly preposterous." And so a small account called Chris Phillips replies, "Really? Have you heard of cybersecurity? Russians and Chinese hackers and accessing UK government computer systems?" To which she replies, "I'm not the government. I'm an MP with a computer in a shared office upon which lives an email account. That's as exciting as my computer gets." Which is beyond stupid for two reasons. One, an MP is the people's representative to the government, so she is literally part of the government. And not only that, she doesn't think that any MP's emails are that interesting or interesting enough for spies to want to look at. And not only that, it is a sackable offence to share your password, and Nadine has literally tweeted out that she happily shares her password. This is beyond stupid, and this is the type of people we have in our government. But don't worry, I think I've started you off with the worst thing here. The rest of it is just basically her pissing off the left. For example, we have this base tweet, again from December 2017. "Left-wing snowflakes are killing comedy, tearing down historical statues, removing books from universities, dumbing down Panto, removing Christ from Christmas, and suppressing free speech. My question is, where is the lie? Sadly, it must be true, history does repeat itself. It will be music next." Which, well, we have seen leftists try and claim that Mozart was actually black. And yes, indeed, we can see that black scholars have confronted white supremacy in classical music, saying the field must acknowledge a history of systemic racism while also giving new weight to black composers, musicians, and listeners. So she seems to be good at making educated predictions. And luckily, she keeps just getting more based. She said in 2013, when gay marriage was a big issue, she said gay marriage comes back to Parliament in 10 days. If Cameron wants to lose Conservative Party 50 seats, he must keep on pushing through. Clearly being against gay marriage to some regard, she also had to go ahead and make stupid arguments for it, saying, if gay marriage bill takes sex out of marriage, could a sister marry a sister to avoid inheritance tax? The answer is obviously no, but she seemed very desperate to be against gay marriage, which, honestly, that's what I'd expect from a normal Conservative MP. But as based as this is, I'm afraid it didn't last forever. She said in July of 2018, "My biggest regret as MP is voting against gay marriage. I read Nicky Grumble blog in the middle of the night before the vote when agonising wish I'd spoke to him. I will regret it all of my life, but truly hope that all the same-sex marriages live happily ever after. #pride, #love, #LGBT. Back when LGBT was the common reference to that community. Whereas now it's an unironic alphabet soup. So yeah, this isn't ideal really. If she's gone back on gay marriage, she can obviously go back on other things that she has said. Very cringe, very blue-pilled. And honestly, if she had better arguments against gay marriage, she probably wouldn't have gone back on it. And also, to play devil's advocate a little bit more, I can't imagine being an MP and being against gay marriage these days. I can only see it as a one-way ticket of getting kicked out of the party. But at least if we go to more recent times, she still seems to be generally right-wing, centre-right when it comes to cultural issues. She said here, "I've deleted a tweet I posted this morning because I realised people would use it to pile in on the person I was tweeting about. I was trying to make a point that the BBC favours students, left-wing, often hypocritical and frequently patronising views that turn people away." That's basically everyone who has an issue with the BBC says, so she very much seems to be on our side. And Cultural Secretary will have influence over the BBC, luckily. Though unfortunately she has been, as well, a bit of an annoying feminist when it comes to the BBC. According to The Independent, the new Cultural Secretary has been a long-time critic of the BBC and in 2012 said that the government should withhold the licence fee payout to the corporation unless they did more to address alleged sexist discrimination against its women television and radio presenters. And the biggest complaints of those were basically the wage gap. She also demanded the Parliamentary Committee be set up to look at why the BBC has so few female executives, as well as presenters, particularly in primetime slots. So unfortunately, she is also going to influence the BBC by making it more feminist. Luckily, she's really incompetent, so it's kind of a massive dice roll on which way this is all going to go. Though, to finish off, I'll finish you with a couple of base things that she has done. So, in 2013, she tweeted this. Apparently I'm racist because I think Chuck Umner looks like Chris Eubank. What would I be if I said he looks like someone who was white? And just for those of you that don't know what these people look like, here is a side-by-side comparison. Now, they're not so similar looking that I'd confuse them, but for a goddamn boomer who probably needs to wear glasses most of the time, I can see her getting confused between these two people. But I just love her reply to people calling her a racist for this, because I don't think it's racist to get confused between two identical looking people. No matter what their race is, and alright, these aren't identical looking, but I can see some similarities. But it's not like she said that all black people look the same, and I think if you say that, then yeah, that is racist. Or at the very least more racist than this, but yeah, this is even back in 2013. And it was still common to say, oh my god, you confused two black people, you must be a racist. But Nadine just didn't care, and I do appreciate that. And this isn't the only time she's got in trouble for confusing two people of ethnic minorities. So from the BBC in 2019, Nadine Dorries is accused of thinking brown women look the same, confusing Faiza Shaheen and Ash Sarkar, who should be famous to people who watch this channel. And the context for this is basically there was a clip going around on Twitter with Ash Sarkar in, complaining about the things she usually complains about. You know, it's usually the leftist drivel she comes out with, which Faiza Shaheen also does. And so when they saw that Dorries had put out that tweet that is now deleted, they both replied with this. When Tories think all brown women look the same, and me and Faiza are two different women, Nadine. You don't see me out here mixing you up with any random white lady, so please pay me the same courtesy. I love the idea of Ash Sarkar calling another leftist journalist some random woman. No, it is a very specific woman, Ash. And honestly, if you two are spouting the same politics, I too would probably get confused if I didn't know you so well. But I just love Nadine's apology to this. So, according to the BBC, she hadn't responded to that request on Twitter, but had emailed Newsbeat apologising. I wasn't sure, it was a tiny video on my small phone screen when I wrote it. I'm obviously really sorry if it has caused any offence. I was just guessing really, hence my careful wording of the tweet, as in maybe. It was the accent I was basing the identification on via my phone, as I thought I recognised the voice and it sounded like Pfizer. And given they're both metropolitan anywhere journalists, yes, I can confirm they do sound the same. I mean, you can just search up clips of them on YouTube. They do sound fairly similar, so I can see that as being quite fair reasoning for the mix-up, along with the fact it was on a small phone screen. As I said, she's a boomer. But what she essentially did was double down there, just saying, yeah, I got them confused, so what? If you're offended, I'm sorry you feel that way. Which I'm all for, because these people don't deserve apologies for things like this. I don't think I've ever seen anything an MP or another journalist has said to Ash Sarkar that warranted an apology. Ash Sarkar is simply one of the worst human beings and journalists on the planet. And honestly, I think she needs to apologise to the whole country for being invited on the BBC and accepting those invites so much. So, of course, Ash Sarkar had to weigh in today saying, congratulations to Penny Mordaunt, Nadine Dorries, on her promotion to Cultural Minister, with the exact article I was reading from just then, screenshotted as an image on her tweet. Stay mad, Miss Sarkar, it fills me with joy. So for the final clip, I'm going to show you Nadine Dorries being absolutely based towards the opposition, basically telling them very politely to do one.
Will the Minister kindly agree to meet with me to work cross-party together?
Joys of being a minister, actually, is in the government, a minister of government, is that we actually won an election, and therefore that gives us the right to decide policy and the ability to decide policy. And I can honestly say if the Honourable Lady wishes to decide the policy, then the party opposite should do harder at the next election. Try harder.
Basically had a Labour MP coming forward begging for cross-party support on a particular issue. And Nadine Dorries just replies, nah mate, we won the election, not you, do one. So she is very entertaining, though does still have a bit of leftism in her, because absolutely every MP does, of course they do. But she actually seems to be conservative on quite a few things that are basically the first stepping stones to getting more conservatism into the country, I think, especially through government. And yes, she's gone back on gay marriage, but I don't think you're ever going to see MPs ever being against gay marriage for the next few decades. And even then, I think that's being optimistic. So ignore that battle, it's over, it's done with, we're never going to get it back. But for the rest of her opinions, they seem fairly conservative, pretty right-wing, pretty good on a cultural basis. Obviously, when it comes to the BBC, she's still got a bit of feminism in her that she's pushing there. But generally, I can imagine her being completely against critical race theory and things like that being taught in school. She's clearly against statues being torn down and museums being completely bastardised to the point where, we have to mention where everything is to do with the slave trade. Basically, she seems like a decent person to have as the cultural secretary. But to be clear, I think that's me being a bit white-pilled. In general, I think this cabinet is going to be as useless as it has been for the past few decades, and I can't see any major improvements for the right coming through in Boris Johnson's government. I just hope they can mitigate the damage they are going to do with this cabinet. But with that, that's everything I had for you today. So, as usual, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.